Thank you for joining us for our continued programming as part of the FSEA online learning experience. My name is Jeff Peterson. I'm the Executive Director of FSEA. Our next presentation is on our virtual workshops entitled Grow Your Business, Promoting Foil and Finishing. We have some great information to share with you today on some ideas to market foil and other print enhancements. I would like to introduce our panelists. First, David Hutchison, the CEO of BrightMARKS LLC, a print and packaging enhancement business in Lenexa, Kansas. And we also have Phil Blalock with us, the General Manager of Art Laminating and Finishing, a print finishing operation in Atlanta, Georgia. Phil's going to tell you a little bit about a special sample center project that he has been working on over the last several months. In addition, I will take a little time to talk about some of the tools we have at FSEA that is available to our members and others to help promote print enhancements in the sustainability of our processes. I want to welcome our panelists today, and we are going to dive right in with some questions and go from there. Although I did want to share with the attendees that this is a pre-recorded program. So if you do have any questions that come to you that you'd like to ask, you feel free to send those to me at jeff@fsea.com, and I can pass those on to the appropriate panel member. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to move this out of the way. With our first question here, we're operating certainly in challenging times right now. We know that, which has kind of changed some focus probably of what we'll talk about here, although we want to look past, what we're dealing with now as well. What are some of the cost-effective marketing and advertising ideas that allow you to reach out to customers and let them know you're still here and you're here to serve them? Dave, is there some things that you guys have done there at BrightMARKS to really kind of try to stay in front of your customers and let them know that you're here to serve?
There's three things that we have done most recently. The first one is we set out with our internal staff and contacted each and every one of our customers with both an email and a follow-up phone call, finding out what their state of operations was and how they were doing, which stimulated a conversation not only on a business basis, but also on a kind of a relationship basis. We got to know, exactly what pressures and issues everyone was dealing with in their own regional areas. The second thing we did is we went through all of our own archives and pulled out projects that we had completed and also had the opportunity to distribute. Some of our clients don't allow us to distribute samples of work we've done for them. Others are more than happy to allow us to do that. And we put together some sample kits that we then sent to clients that we've been interested in doing business with, not knowing what their situation currently was, but anticipating that in some geographies that their supply chains may have changed or been influenced by the COVID lockdowns. We sent out some sample kits to them to let them know what we were capable of doing, just using products that we had in our archives here. We also set out, the third thing we did was we set out to prepare some using our staff that had time on their hands and resources that we have in terms of paper, foil sitting on the shelf, dyes already in our inventory from other projects. We set out to actually put together some specific types of marketing materials and collateral materials to work on, so that as the economy starts to ramp back up, we're able to start distributing these things to the design communities and the brand owners to show them the options they have with the different processes we perform. Foil stamping, embossing, UV coating, etc.
Yeah, I think I think that's an excellent point. Our latest issue of Post Press magazine, I have a viewpoint in there talking a little bit about some ideas for our finishers and other members. And certainly this is the time to create some samples, create some pieces that you can showcase. A lot of the things we do as far as our association, visual is the main thing. So it's a good time to do that. Phil, anything additionally that you would want to add to that on some things you guys have done to stay in contact with your customers, stay in front of your customers?
Basically, the similar items. A lot of e-blast, a lot of phone calls. My reps have been on the phone with all their customers, just assuring them that we were here and ready to do whatever work can come their way. One other thing that we actually did is put out a discount program to all our printers. Taking advantage of the payroll protection program, we went in and basically lowered our labor rates dramatically. That's something that's going to be reimbursed to us, so we pass that along to our customers to give them a bonus to help them sell work in these hard times. We were sending out heavily discounted pricing for a period of time, and with that caveat was a COD. The job had to be produced within that period and paid with COD, and that really generated a lot of activity for us as far as estimates go and jobs that rolled in. People were interested in taking advantage of the cost savings and were willing to pay the COD to get it done as well.
That's, I think, really an interesting thought there, Phil. And again, I had made a point, and and I've talked to some of our members that we know that a lot of your customers, a lot of our finishing customers, one of the things that they've brought in-house probably more over the last several years than any other finishing operations, die cutting, that they're doing a lot of die cutting in-house work. But guess what? A lot of the printers are working with a smaller crew now, not bringing as many people. And certainly, they may not have the ability to do as much die cutting, and that's an area that we could all help in. So I think that's a real interesting thought. Oops, sorry. Okay, I think we'll go to the next question here. As we do begin to bounce back from the pandemic, is it more important than ever to market and brand your finishing services? Or it is more important than ever to market and brand, and some ideas we just talked about. What other thoughts do, David, maybe you have some ideas on some other things that finishers can do as we kind of move out of this pandemic and, move forward in the better time?
Well, maybe I can put some detail behind one of the two of the items that I mentioned previously that we've been working on with the capacity we have available to us at the moment. One of them is, if a significant amount of our business comes from more than 500 miles away from where we are located. Actually, about 60% of our business comes from more than 500 miles away from us. But for that portion that is the 40% that is more local to us, we actually have gone out and prepared sample pieces that incorporate items from the local area. For example, for UV coating, to promote our UV coating and specialty effects in UV that we do, we put together a book called Kansas City Covered in Coatings. We sent out one of our own people during this time to travel around the city, taking pictures of kind of the iconic things in the Kansas City market. And then we brought that photography back. We got with one of our local printers who had time on his hands and was willing to subsidize some of the costs of the print. And we printed up the photography, and then we assigned different embellishments to every single one of the pages in it. It makes it a regionally accepted or locally accepted piece. Some of the pieces could be used as a postcard. Some of the pieces could be used by the local folks as frameable art. All of the pieces demonstrate what they as designers and as printers could do for clients, combining different effects. Some of the sheets we foil stamped and UV coated. Others we did multiple UV coating treatments on. And it was a pretty easy and quick project to put together. And as I said, we got subsidies from the printer. We used paper that we had left over from other projects. And it really turned out to be a nice piece that we're now going to be able to distribute as we bounce back from the pandemic. Another thing that we've done is we put together what we called an enhancement kit, which includes that particular piece, the one that we created for our UV area. And it also includes swatch books that we got from our foil suppliers, their color charts. They provided them to us at no charge. We asked them, to send us 50 to 100 of them. We put together 50 to 100 kits. And we got those from all of the foil suppliers that we generally use, and we commonly use 3 different suppliers. And all of them were willing to supply us with those charts to include in this kit. It also has in it information about the white paper studies that FSEA has done regarding recyclability, biodegradability, the impact that foil stamping and enhancements have on shelf appeal.
Right.
It includes a myriad of different items that designers and brand owners, as they start to think about what they want their look and feel to be coming out of pandemic to get their products in front of people, that it attempts to answer all of the questions that they may have about considering to continue to use hot stamping and high visibility effects, or to start using it in order for their products to get the highest attention coming out of the gate of this thing.
I think that's some great information. And, I think a while back, David, I remember us talking that, showcasing like your UV, your offline UV coating services. There's customers, I think probably especially local or regionally, that may not be aware that you were doing some of those types of things. So it's
Right.
a great way to let them know for sure that's another service that you offer.
Right. One last thing that we included in that is we got in touch with, many years ago, we got in touch with the FSEA and got the pages from you for all of the awards winners dating back to, I believe, 2005 or something. It was like 11 years worth of award winners for the Gold Leaf Awards. And we took those pages and we sent them over to a printer customer of ours and had them digitally print a catalog of award-winning work. Because we feel like it's important that the marketplace understand that it's not just printing that wins awards, that it's high visibility enhancements, it's embellishments of embossing and foil stamping and UV coating and holographics also win awards. And we put together it's about a 25-page catalog of all the award winners for about the last 11 years. And we distribute that to clients as well so that they can see the recognition products can get when they're embellished.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Phil, anything further that that you would add to that on anything you think that's important as far as marketing as as we kind of work ourselves out of this pandemic?
Well, the one thing that we've kind of focused on is trying to come up with something that's different, something that's out of the box, out of the ordinary. With so many printers now doing stamping and die cutting as well, we're trying to find something that's unique to offer that maybe they haven't thought of. So we've kind of teamed up with a couple of vendors, Universal Engraving and Atlas Die. They've got a great collection of textured dies at Universal that create a whole new effect, from a linen effect. They have security images for stamping. And we combine that with Atlas Die's capabilities for micro die cutting that is really competes with laser die cutting that's coming out. What they're able to achieve with steel plates, the fine detail of die cut, is really something unusual that really can only be achieved by laser or this process. And laser is extremely expensive and very few people have them. So we've combined a marketing tool and a mail out piece that combines both of those to try to demonstrate some unique, different finishing items that are out there that really people may not have thought about at this point.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I've always felt that, the textures that can be done with foil stamping and the refraction, the refractive, the detail that refraction can provide. Many of our engraving members have the ability to make those types of dies, and it's unlike multi-level embossing that can add quite a bit cost. Adding the refraction is really, doesn't usually add a lot of cost to the project, and you can get some really, unique things out of it that, as you said, a lot of people haven't seen it or aren't aware that it's available. So I think those are great ideas. Another question here. What have you found? Dave, is there anything that's very specific that you've found that's been the most effective to market or advertise your finishing surfaces? And it may just come back, which I know you've spent quite a bit of we've talked quite a bit on samples and visuals of what foil and coatings can do. And so they act, if it's designers or if it's even printers. I mean, I think printers, still need a lot of education on what enhancements can do. Is there something very specific that you think, is the most effective on marketing your finishing services?
During pandemic times, where you're limited to exposing yourself to groups of people, I think that it's got to be finished samples. High quality finished samples are going to be the most effective. If we get back to a situation where we can start gathering in small groups, one of the things we found to be very effective is a lunch and learn program, where we physically, invest a couple of $100s in buying some sandwiches and some chips at a local sandwich shop. We take them into an advertising agency or a printer customer, We provide their sales staff and their estimating staff and their design staff a lunch. And while they're eating, we explain high visibility enhancements and the finishing processes that they have at their disposal. And of course, we show them a lot of samples. I think those two things have been the most effective marketing and advertising activities that we've engaged in.
Great ideas. Phil, anything else that you would add to that?
Well, I agree 100% with David. It's the samples. Samples are what sell. So getting the samples in front of the people is, I think, the most effective way to market your advertising ideas. And that's kind of led us in a direction where we're trying to get the customers into our facility to see the samples. Obviously, if you can get them in your facility, you have the ability to show them more samples than what you can physically carry with you to a meeting. So along with the lunch and learns that are done on the customer site, we're really pushing, once we get back on our feet here in the economy and everybody's back out and about, to get those people in our facility, in our sample room, to see the multitude of samples that we have for them to view.
Yeah, I think that's great, and we'll talk about that shortly. I think we've basically gone over this. I think, a lot of, and so I don't know that we need to revisit this with this question on, what suggestions do you have on how to best produce and organize samples? I think both of you guys have had some really good suggestions with that. I am going to bring up here that because we're working on all these pre-recorded webinars, one of them that we're doing that was going to be one of our presentations at the in-person conference that, of course, we weren't able to do and attend, was a presentation by Mike Devereaux with Mueller Prost, who is a new partnership that we have formed on helping our members with R&D tax credits. It's something that is available to the manufacturing area. A lot of people in like the plastics area are using this, and we have a couple members that are starting to put this together. These R&D tax credits are available, and he has done some work to show that our type of business and enhancements and foil really can work well and create a tax credit ability for our members that can really help on the bottom line. And the reason I bring it up, and again, those that are attending here, it is part of our, will be part of our 2-day conference next week, or now, with these next 2 days. That I bring this up because one of the things he talks about, if you listen to his webinar, is that creating samples can be part of a tax credit. If you're utilizing time to create samples of a new type of process or a different type of process, those can go under R&D and can qualify. Phil, you had brought up that the new die cutting technique from Atlas that can compete with laser cutting. I would say for sure that type of thing could for sure qualify. So again, for those who are attending and you're looking at doing samples, there may even be some potential tax relief with the samples that you do put together for your customers.
Jeff, if I could,
yeah.
On the question that we've got up right now, produce and organize samples. I want to point out at least our experience. We are very, very diligent at questioning or interrogating the client to a level where we try to understand exactly what they're looking for, or the types of things that they're interested in, so that we're not just sending them a box of samples, some of which are not at all relevant to their interest. We really want to make sure that the samples we send them are on point and very, very relevant. Because it's hard to come by good samples when you run out of a good one. And so you want to, hang on to them as long as you can, so that you get the most bang for the buck out of them. And they're also costly to produce. So if you're producing something on your own, so we really use our telemarketing and our sales people to dive in deep on what they're looking for so that the samples are not wasted. We're not just blowing a whole bunch of paper out into the marketplace that is going to get file 13 or shoved away in a drawer and not used.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and that falls under certainly organizing your samples and,
right,
and using them appropriately. Yep,
yeah.
Good idea. Phil, as you had started to talk, I'm going to let talk about how you're wanting, especially once we get kind of back going the right direction here, past the COVID, that the sample center and resource center you put together. I might have you talk a little bit about how that started and how that you did put it together, where it's located in your facility, that type of thing.
Okay, well, it really began in 2019 at the Odyssey Expo in Atlanta, the binding summit that you guys put together for FSEA, which I reluctantly attended. I think you had to
I forced you, remember?
I do remember. You actually went and told the owner on me that I wasn't coming, so I was kind of pushed into it, but glad I did. Yeah. So during that, the presentation by Deborah Korn at Print Media Center kind of hit home with me. She was representing, in my opinion, buyers and what they're looking for, and her whole point was they don't know what's available out there. All the information they get is what comes from printers. So I saw an opportunity for us we have the samples and she needs to see them. So we came back and put a plan together. We were fortunate to have enough office space here to be able to convert our little 300 square foot sample room into an over 1,000 square foot sample room. We tore down cubicles. We rearranged offices that were currently existing and opened up a lot of floor space. We invited vendors to join us, from foil to film to die cutting to the anything that belongs in the finishing, handles, double face tape, any kind of product that would be out there that someone may need to see to put together a project. We contacted all of those vendors. We offered those that were interested an individualized, personalized kiosk on the floor, branded with their logos. And some of them took to heart with it, and some of them just sent a few samples. Other vendors came down and actually set up their own displays in the showroom. So we put out a series of e-blasts to announce what we were doing, what was going to be opening, to try to get some interest, and that really generated a lot of questions about what we were getting ready to open with, and we spent about 3 months putting this together. We then had an opening, invited the vendors to be here to greet the customers as they came in and answer any kind of questions that came up. So we generated this space, and the idea is there's a missing link between buyers and printers and the final product, and I believe that is the finisher. The work is completed on our site. We have the samples from all the different projects. So when the buyers are contacting the printers are going on what knowledge they have in their individual experiences. What we're trying to do is to get our customers to feel comfortable enough to bring their customers down to sit with us to discuss the project. Getting all three levels together. You got design, print, and finish, all together in one room discussing the projects. None of us will have all the answers, but between the three of us, we'll have the answers. So really trying to save a lot of effort, save a lot of problems down the road that generate when printed papers show up on our finishing floors, and we're all saying, gosh, if you had just done this differently, we could have saved you a bunch of money. So we put this together. So hopefully when the pandemic is over, we can get some more volume of people down here to see what we have to offer.
Phil, I think it's a great idea. I mean, and I was able to, I was in Atlanta, actually, what was it, Phil? It was probably a month before the pandemic, wasn't it? I think in February.
Yeah.
We weren't even thinking about any of that, and I had to be down there for business, and I was able to come by and meet with Phil and see his sample center, and I think it's a great idea. Of course, it makes us feel good too that it was something that, an idea that Phil took from one of our conferences and from the binding summit we did at Odyssey last year, and and I think some of the really cool ideas is how Phil reached out to some of the vendors, so it wasn't just you as a company having to come up with all the displays and information, that the vendors really came up with some cool stuff, as you can see in this picture. There's some great examples and great samples that are out there. The other thing I think that is worth pointing out that I think, and as Phil, you said, you have the room, and not all facilities do, but I think it's great that this is actually right when you walk into Phil and Art Laminating's front door. So you walk into their front door, you basically see this, and you see all these samples and information. It's not back in a back conference room somewhere where you have to lead somebody. So people coming in for proofs, coming in to see one of Phil's people there, or stopping by, all of this is right there, where there's a better chance of people looking at samples, seeing samples, those types of things. So, I think this is an idea that a lot of our, members and people should think about in some capacity. You may be able to do it small or large, and, between something like this and some of the things that David pointed out, lunch and learns with, printing customers or design agencies, those are just some of the best ways, I think, for our industry and for the people involved with our enhancements in foil and finishing. It's, visual is the key. Anything else before I start on FSEA? I don't know, Dave, do you have any other comments in regard to that, or Phil, from a sample or sample standpoint or marketing standpoint?
No, nothing else to add.
Okay.
No, I think we've covered it.
I think we've covered a lot of it. So, I know David even mentioned one of the things with his kits that they've put together. He includes information on the white papers we've done. So I just wanted to just touch on some of the things that we have available at FSEA that our members and others can have access to. We work with Clemson University and their packaging department on 2 separate studies on the impact of high visibility enhancements on self-presence. So there's 2 available. One of them was the first one we did. We actually took a product that was that was a private brand cereal series, and also they had a popcorn series where they were utilizing enhancements on their cartons. And we did a study against some of the more popular brands and created some great results on the impact of enhancements. The second white paper, we actually made up a product, like single serving coffee cups, and we made up a product that is not out there, that was not out there in the, it was totally made up and enhanced with foil. And we did a study against the popular brands with that. So there's some differences in the studies, but both of them gave us some really great input on the impact of high visibility enhancements. Clemson University, they utilized an eye tracking devices that those who did the study would wear, and they can track things like when they first see an item, and how long do they keep their eyes on that item. So there's some great information we were able to get from that. We are just finishing up also, for those who are listening here, a white paper on the direct mail and embellishments. And there'll be some really great information there, besides what we can get from consumers. Direct mail is another way of, really judging the impact that foil, specialty coatings, raised coatings can have on consumer choices. So that's available very soon. The last thing that I want to talk about is our foil cheat sheet. Or actually not the last, I'm going to say one other thing, but our foil cheat sheet is something that we've been working on for the last several months. We came out with it at the end of this last year and we're really proud of what we've put together. We had a lot of impact from Sabine Lenz, who's the owner of Paper Specs, and many of you may know Paper Specs. Sabine does a lot of work with print and embellishments for the designers. She's very, very pro foil, pro coatings, which we all love for print, for working with print. So she helped us with the design and ideas of what the designers would be looking for, and we came up with the foil cheat sheet. It's a great, great resource to tell your customers what is the difference between hot foil, cold foil, digital foil, both toner-based adhesives and polymer-based adhesives. Where do all these fit? What are the advantages and disadvantages of each? And, I tell our members, who a lot, of course, are doing more conventional hot stamping, that this is great for your clients, because it really honestly showcases that, hot foil still is the right choice for many, many applications. Yes, there may be some short runs, some different projects where digital techniques make sense, and certainly some things where cold foil and overprinting on foil, that the cold foil process may be your best choice. But it really goes through all of that, so it's a great resource. I'm telling everybody now that'll be on this seminar and who has signed up for the conference that you can get 5 of these books for $25. If you go to our website and you'll click on the right side into where you can order the foil cheat sheets, you can go on there and you can get 5 of them for $25. There's a promo code area, and you just write in there special. Just type in there the word special, and you'll get that deal, which is a nice discount on 5 of the foil cheat sheets for those who had signed up and are watching the conference. Just a quick note, too, on sustainability. David had mentioned that that's part of the packets that he sends out as well. We do have a full study that we did on the sustainability, on the repulpability and recyclability of foil decorated paper and board. That continues to be an important item, where again we are very close to coming out with something to supplement that study that we did a few years ago, and so we're excited about that. We're working with Georgia Tech, and the initial results are really, really good on showcasing that there is not a problem with foil decorated paper or board being de-inked and repulped for recycled papers and other recycled paper products. So we're going to have some backup on our initial study, but the initial one is available for somebody that may need that for a client or a customer. Lastly, I just want to take a moment and thank all of our sponsors for our online learning experience, FSEA online learning experience. It certainly has been an experience for us doing this for the first time virtual. But many of our great supporters of FSEA have stayed with us to support it. So I want to give them a thank you. BOPS, Tupelo, Kurz, Transfer Products, HHS Bomber, H&M, Infinity Foils, Metal Magic, Mueller Prost, Sakurai USA, Eagle Systems, Univaco, and Universal Engraving Inc. Thank you very much. And thank you, Dave and Phil, for being part of our panel today. Really appreciate it. And we will talk to everybody soon. Thanks.